All right, what's going on, everybody? We're here. We're not actually live. This is probably a few podcasts I haven't done live, but we've been trying to make this happen for a while. I just saw this young man on Instagram streets. For some odd reason, he decided to start an Instagram for poker, and he turned it into one of the most entertaining things I think anyone in poker scene right now. We posted some videos on there about he played on the Poker After Dark, the Potluck Omaha edition, and eventually I saw that he followed me on Instagram for some reason. I saw he followed 7 people. I was one of the people. So I said, guys, everyone out there follows me. Let's go tell Gus we want to see him on the podcast. People have been asking to see Gus on the podcast for about 37 years or so. And finally, the magical moment has arrived. Gus Hansen, welcome officially to the Poker Live podcast, my friend. How's it going?
Everything is good. Good to be on. Like 37 years is a long time to wait.
I know it's been they've been asking for 37 years, man. I feel like that's what it's been like, man. You're sort of you were one of the first real poker people that came out. I don't want to call them poker celebrities or people that were well known from poker that came up back in I think like early World Poker Tour days, and we haven't really seen too much of you over these past year or two, and I think the people have been missing out on you. So it's been fun to get to see you back in the mix with Poker After Dark and with the Instagram and kind of getting a little bit of peek behind the scenes at what's happening with the Bobby's Room play.
Yeah, well, I've been, you could say, laying low. I've been doing some other stuff, been hanging out in Europe, Denmark, Monaco. And right now I feel like it's time to get back in the swing of things and play a little poker. And you're going to see me a lot in Vegas this year. And some of the tournaments, I might go to Barcelona for the party poker event, EPT in Monaco, etc. So you'll see me here and there. I don't know how many tournaments, but I'll be around.
What inspired this, I guess this kind of coming back into the more of the public light in poker?
I don't know if I'm really going into the public light, but I guess you can say because I am a well-known face on the poker scene. But I just felt like it was time to get better at poker, and like I said, I've been laying low, and obviously everybody knows I've had some bad years, especially online, and I felt like let's stick to the live and do some damage.
So back out of retirement, you just got done with like I said before we got started, it seemed to me like you were playing for about, I don't know, 14 days straight, all day long poker in Bobby's Room. You were grinding hardcore. You said you barely slept a little bit. So this is kind of your how'd you feel getting back into things and putting in some really, really long sessions back in Bobby's Room?
Well, I think maybe I should make my long sessions a little bit shorter because it is good to get some sleep. But no, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, some of the old timers, especially Dolly, you can definitely call him an old timer, but he's playing some of the best poker I've ever seen him play. So hats off to Doyle. And obviously, you have a jungle man who's a tad bit crazy, and a lot of regulars. Crazy Elior, UK guy. I'm sure people know him from online. So it was a good mix of people, and I'm happy to say that I think I made some good decisions along the way and ended up winning a little bit. But it's not going to be good enough for this summer because this summer is going to be great.
You sound like you got some epic plans for the summer coming up.
Well, basically, it's going to be 2 months in Vegas. Some friends are coming over, but mainly I'm going to be focusing on the cash games. But I think I'm going to sneak in 2, 3, 4 tournaments over at the Rio. I mean, the 50K, the main event. But I got some plans of maybe throwing in a couple of other tournaments as well.
What about the $1 million buy-in? $1 million for one drops, Gus?
I did that the first time around, but no, I don't think I'm going into that. I mean, basically, you're going to be seeing a lot of no limit hold'em tournament specialists playing that event, and I think I'll have better ways to spend $1 million. Obviously, you have a chance for a big payday, but I might go with a satellite or two, trying to win my way in, but I'm not putting up 1 million. Not this time around.
Not this time around. What do you think your main game is? What would you call yourself if you said, well, I play mixed game player, pot limit Omaha player, the great game, or like a mixture of those type of things?
Oh, I'm definitely a backgammon player.
Backgammon.
Very okay. Good at backgammon.
Listen, we can ask about that later. We've heard about this backgammon thing thousands of times since like 2002. So definitely gonna ask more about this backgammon. But so backgammon is the specialty.
No, in poker, I really like the Bobby's Room mix that we have. We play a multiple of games, and it seems like if I had to guesstimate my own results going the last 3 weeks here, I think I'm doing really good in the split games actually. The Funky Stud 8 are better, the Omaha High Low. I think that's the two games I do really well in Bobby's Room. Maybe it's because I'm good at those games. Maybe the other players are a little weaker at those games. I don't know. I like the triple draw, the Badoogie. I'm really trying to get better at the pot limit Omaha because this has been a big flaw of mine. Maybe it still is, but we'll see. I mean, I really like the mix that you're not stuck with one game for 10, 12 hours and just playing hold 'em. So yeah, it's a good mix we have.
Yeah, you played on the pot limit Omaha after Dark Week, and I think you did put it all in pre-flop with the 8-6-3 deuce one hand, which some people I remember were chatting about a little bit. So I think you got. I think the 8-6-3 deuce might be a fold pre-flop. I mean, I'm a crazy player. I play a lot of hands, but even I might fold that. You gotta fold something. I know it's a great game. You get 4 cards, but maybe you gotta.
No, that was not a pretty hand, and I think even some people put it up on Instagram, and I think I had like 17-18% pre-flop in a 4-way pot, which is obviously pretty bad. I did get Aussie Matt to take half of me that hand, so but nonetheless, no, that was not a good hand. I mean, basically, it looked to me the way the hand played out pre-flop that I was up against 3 big pairs that definitely could be aces, kings, whatever. So I said, let's throw a little advertising in, even though I'm one of the few poker players that really don't need to advertise because people don't believe me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that hand, once you kind of put money in the pot the first time, and then I think it went raise, 3-bet, and then the guy cold 4-bet. I think the guy always cold 4-bet has aces, and then I think Ben most likely probably has a bigger hand too, but could be, I don't know, yeah. No gamble, no future. But you're right. But there is the advertising budget too, which I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily think about as well, is that when you advertise certain plays and certain times, and you mentioned maybe you don't need to do that, but at that same time, that's going to get you a lot of action. A lot of people are going to maybe play a lot different against you than they would play against other people, and you might put them out of their comfort zone and therefore be able to take advantage of them in different situations.
That's definitely a possibility. I mean, one thing I have noticed is, and I think it's actually made it a little tougher for me in no limit tournaments. Obviously, people have gotten a lot better since the early days of 2002, 3, 4, 5. But I really cannot win a tournament without showing down a hand, because it doesn't matter how tight I play for how many hours, they're still not going to believe me. I think one memorable tournament, I played the Awesome Millions, probably 2009 or something like that. And at Oberstadt, which I think is a very accomplished tournament player, was at my table, and she played pretty much every hand. And I think I really sat for like 2 hours without playing one single hand. And then I played 2 hands fairly consecutively. And she had, in that time frame, she's probably played like 25 hands or something like that. And it seemed to me everybody at the table thought that she probably had a better hand all the 25 times she played a hand than the 2 times I played. So it kind of gave me an idea that, I mean, I really have to wait around, but with blinds and antes going up, it's not always perfect to sit and wait around. You would like to take down a hand without showing the best hand on the river. So it can go both ways. If you have good hands, it's really good to be Gus Hansen.
Do you find that's that same thing when you play the cash games now too?
A lot of times with the cash games, it is people that I know, they know me. Like I said, I named obviously Jungle Man, Doyle Brunson, Crazy Elliot, John Monette, Keith Gibson, Keith Lear. I can keep on mentioning name, some of which you may know, some maybe not. But it's a different dynamic. It's not some random good, bad, mediocre player that sees me for the first time, but have an idea that I'm the crazy, insane guy who never has anything. So in the cash games, obviously, I have a feeling for Doyle Brunson is definitely more tight than Jungle Man. But in some games, Jungle Man also like to advertise while he's actually fairly tight. So it's I have a good feel for my opponents, but they obviously have a good feel for me. And in a tournament situation where I've never played against some player before, I just know that he has an idea that I'm pretty much somewhere between mad and insane.
That's true, and they're probably correct, right?
Well, I think I had a period where I sat down at the table, and I thought I might as well get it out of the way, and I said, I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm the tightest player at the table. And everybody laughed, and nobody noticed that I actually was the tightest player at the table. I mean, even I said it up front. I just wanted to get it out of the way, but nobody believed me. Everybody laughed, and they basically were stuck with the impression they already had, which is that I play every hand. So I can get away with playing tight.
You mentioned earlier about sticking more to live now and kind of not playing much online anymore. And obviously your online chronicles have been very well documented in the high stakes world, whether it's in the high stakes limit games or the high stakes Potman Omaha games. And what's kind of been how do you feel looking back kind of on your online play and the online experiences that you've had?
Well, I mean, there's always the quick 3 words, shoot me now. But obviously it's pretty ugly to look at. And as I've mentioned to you earlier, let's just face it, online is not really my scene. It just seems like when I'm sitting in front of the computer, I'm not as much playing poker as I'm actually pushing buttons. And that is going to be a tough task, playing against pretty much the top players in any of the games that I ever ventured in. Whereas live is for me a more calm situation. I have a better idea what's going on. I like to actually be able to see the expression on my opponent's face, etc. And it seems like that scene has I've done a lot better in that world. So let's stick to that. And the online for me is going to be more in the $5-10 pot limit games, maybe to try out some new ideas or get some practice in before I go to a long trip to Vegas, etc. So I might throw in an occasional chip in a bigger online game, but it's not going to be anything day in, day out.
Next, I think at your peak, you're definitely having hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million swings online, playing some of the best players in the entire world. I remember there was the French guy. Weren't you playing the French guys at 08 or something like that, like Alex Luneau and I think one of those other guys too. And then you were playing a bunch of the Potman Omaha at high state. You were just battling against some of the best players. And yeah, I mean, you just have to be really, really, really good to be able to beat the best players. And if you don't, then you're going to lose money. And That seems like. So I guess, do you feel like that people look at your results online and then they look at that and say, would they make an incorrect judgment about your overall poker ability because they see that you haven't won money online?
Well, I mean, it basically only seems fair to me to judge by that. I mean, they
Right.
judge by a result which is may or may not have been lucky, unlucky, but no matter what, it's definitely been a losing strategy for me. So in that sense, it's definitely seems fair to judge by that, even though poker is the same game, it's the same rules whether you play live or online. It's definitely two different worlds. Another example, I think I was there at the first time Justin Bonomo played a live tournament, and let's just say that was not pretty. I mean, he gave off the biggest tells that I ever saw. It was a Bellagio 10K event, and needless to say, he did basically knock himself out with one of his live tells. So obviously, I'm not saying that he's that guy anymore, but it is just a different game. He came from the online scene, and obviously he's a very accomplished live tournament player right as we speak. I'm sure many of people would bet on him against me in a live tournament, and I can't fault them for that. But the first time he stepped into that world, it was a different scenario. So in that sense, now I can't even remember where we started, but it was just an example of it is a different game, even though the rules are the same.
Do you ever worry about any sort of potential cheating happening online, or any sort of people working together or anything like that playing in some of those games?
Let's just say I would bet a lot of money that somebody did something somewhat unethical, whatever that may be, in their endeavors against me. And I mean, basically, I can only blame myself for my own stupidity or being too naive in certain situation, and obviously keep on going in a game where I was in a lot of situations outmatched.
So are you referencing the rumors about this potential software playing against those sorts of things like that?
I mean, really, to be honest, I don't know. I don't have any proof of anything. I just have an idea. Basically, if you go over my results, it's I didn't lose 200,000 online. I didn't lose 2 million online. It's a lot of money. And what people are capable of doing or want to do to be able to get a hold of some of the part of that money, I don't know, but it would definitely be naive right here as we speak to believe that nothing ever happened of a slightly unethical character. But again, who did what, I don't know. I don't worry too much about it. It's in the past, and obviously I can only blame myself for going that far. But I'm still alive. I'm still kicking, and it's going to be a great summer.
Yeah, you mentioned getting better at your game, working at your game. What does that entail? Because obviously you're playing in these like, I don't even know how many mixtures are in the game. There's a lot of games to get better at. So when you're thinking about, okay, what am I going to work at first, and then where do you go find how to work at those games? Because I don't know if there's a Badusi AC strategy video or books or anything like that out there. So it seems to me like, what's the process like for getting better with them?
Well, obviously, you have to know the different games. There's obviously some math involved in every game, whether it's stud high low or it's RAS or it's no limit hold'em or whatever it is. But one thing is for sure, if you're a good poker player, your poker playing skills will translate pretty well from one game to another. Obviously, like I said, you have to learn the ins and outs of that game. But right now, I know all the games pretty well. I'm not saying I'm playing pretty well at all the games, but I know them pretty well. So I'm more looking at the poker aspect of things and not the particular math in Badugi or ace to five Raz or whatever it is. I'm more looking at situations where, hey, can I represent something stronger here and make them fold a better range than mine, et cetera, et cetera. And that translates to any games. I mean, basically, pot limit Omaha, okay, the straight card comes, you think he's on the flush draw, you can represent that, maybe make him fold, et cetera, et cetera. The same can be said for a Raz hand where he's representing an 8, but you raise him to represent an 8, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm more looking into that than the specific game. Obviously, I want to get better at Badugi. I think that's one of my bad games, et cetera. So I dig a little bit into that, but it's more about my opponents and obviously the way I behave myself at the poker table right now, at least.
Do you think that maybe sleeping more and playing longer sessions would be in the benefit of you, or do you think that that's something that you're probably always going to be doing?
I think you meant sleeping more and play shorter sessions.
That's definitely what I meant. Yeah.
But yes, I mean, basically, and that also goes for the whole online career of Mr. Gus Hansen, is discipline has not been my strong side. So basically, that goes for Bobby's room as well. Obviously, it would be a much better rhythm for me. I mean, I still play a lot of sports, go to the squash court, practice, go for a bike ride. So have more of the sessions where I play for 10, 12 hours, get some exercise, get a good night's sleep. There's always a new day tomorrow instead of going on the 24-hour binge and then be worn out for the next 3 days, etc. So obviously that is a part of it too. I don't know if I can manage because I am. I don't know if we're allowed to say that on podcast, but I am a sick fuck. But nonetheless, I'm trying to improve on that aspect as well, the discipline of the whole gambling scene.
Do you feel like that's something you'll probably always be fighting for the rest of your life as a gambler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, it's like, yeah. You could say. I mean, basically, am I a degenerate? Oh yeah, for sure. That goes without saying. But most of my friends in the poker world are degenerates. They have different behaviors. Some people, they have to be gambling every day. I don't have to be gambling every day. I mean, I can. If you ask me not to gamble for the next 2 weeks, that would be no problem. My problem is when I'm in the midst of gambling, then it's hard for me to stop, if you understand what I'm saying. Sure. So people have different flaws and different problems with the discipline. And one of mine is once I'm in the midst of a game, I like to keep on going, and sometimes I should just pull the plug. And obviously, I definitely should have pulled the plug on my laptop many years ago, but I didn't. But like I said, I'm still around, and I think you're going to see me around a lot this year.
You seem so excited about what's coming up this summer. I'm kind of excited to follow along because are we going to keep for some reason? Like I said, you started doing Instagram on there, and Instagram is kind of like newer in poker. There hasn't been that many poker players kind of putting stuff up there. I started like a year ago on there, so I've been started paying more attention. But you are giving people a look in Bobby's room. You provide some very nice commentary to the videos as well too. We get to see the Jungle Man. Shout out to Dan. Yeah. So are you going to be doing more of that kind of stuff and giving people a chance to kind of see into that little world?
I'm definitely going to be doing some of that. I mean, I'm always a little bit careful because some people like to remain private,
right?
And I want to respect that. There's definitely some high stakes players who want to remain incognito, high stakes players. So, but I mean, every one of you know Doyle, every one of you know Jungle Man, etc. And as you can see, most of the shots that I've taken feature some of those well-known players. But yeah, I'll definitely be doing some of that. I have some other ideas, and I actually thought I might as well mention it here, and then maybe you can help me monitor, because I was actually thinking about writing a sequel, writing another book.
Okay.
Same idea, but a somewhat different touch. And yeah, maybe you can help me figure out if people think that's a good idea, or etc. So I definitely have some ideas with that, with regards to maybe writing another book.
So the first book you did, you basically kept track of all the hands, and that was a Aussie Millions, right? Was that Aussie Millions?
2007, yeah.
Was that the one that you won, or is that no? That was after.
Yeah, so it was the one I won. Basically, I think it was my 8th try. So I played obviously some other tournaments with a dictaphone where I recorded every hand. I stepped away from the table every time I played a hand. And obviously remembered if I played consecutive hands, which I do sometimes. And then I just talked into the dictaphone. So this way I had the whole tournament recorded, every hand I played. And obviously, even though it's hard to find a dictaphone nowadays in an electronic store, it's still possible to get one or use your phone. So something along the same lines, but like I said, a slightly different touch. But nothing has been done. I'm working on it, but I know the process and I know it could be done, and I would do it during the World Series this summer. So yeah, it's an idea.
Yeah, I think something like giving people a look into the series, maybe not even if it's, I'm not sure the idea, maybe like not specifically the hands, but maybe the sessions, or kind of giving people a chance to follow along with the series could be a really, really cool look. And I think people would love it from your perspective, because you have one of the most unique perspectives when it comes to the poker world, with your history in poker and with the games that you play in. And yeah, I mean, we're never going to see that before. So I think people will be very interested in that. I'll definitely put something out there and ask people what they think on Twitter and Instagram, and kind of get their feedback, because yeah, I'd be curious to see what they think.
I appreciate it.
Is that kind of what you're thinking for format wise? Maybe give people a chance to maybe.
It would definitely be. I mean, basically, the Aussie Millions book was a look behind the scenes. Obviously, an entire tournament from start to finish, when you start 700-800 people, and then some final table action and short stacked action, where it was as you mentioned, behind the scenes. And this would be obviously a more World Series behind the scenes, what goes on day to day in maybe the high stakes cash game world, etc., etc. So yeah, along those lines.
Have you seen anything like the vlogs out there these days? Like Daniel did something last year where he did a vlog during the series, which people really liked, and a lot of people. It seems like a lot of people are doing the vlogs now.
Ooh, see. At first, I was just like, all these new fancy words. I'm not strong on that, but obviously it must be a video blog or something that. And obviously, isn't that what Instagram is?
I mean, to me, it's like a shorter form blog. It's not as polished. Like that's what I just turn the phone around and start talking to it. So it's like it's definitely a way to vlog in a different form for sure. Yeah, I think some people use Instagram just to post photos. I really just post videos and photos on there too, and you usually post a lot of videos. But yeah, I look at it as the same way. If you can basically do like a mini vlog on there.
Yeah. No. I have not seen Daniel's what he did last year, but obviously it's always interesting to see what might catch people's interest, and what obviously Daniel is very popular. He's doing very well. So in that sense, it's always interesting to see what he's up to.
Are you good friends with anyone that's, I guess, the poker players that a lot of us know and kind of seen you interact with over the years?
Well, I mean, obviously there's been ups and downs in the poker world, and obviously Black Friday turned things a little bit sour, especially for people involved in the full tilt world. Um, I would say I have a few good friends in poker. I obviously have a lot of acquaintances,
Hmm.
but yeah, I'm just gonna keep that private and say I have some good friends that I can talk to it obviously in a poker sense, but also a lot of other stuff, whatever is going on. But yeah, that's on the private side of things.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess you have seen the ups, the downs. You were there kind of. You were initially an initial poker boom. I feel like that was before even the moneymaker stuff happened, and then obviously with everything that happened with Full Tilt and with the government changing the laws, and then all this stuff on ESPN, and then it went to Black Friday, and then after that, kind of where we're at now. And I guess what do you think the biggest differences are in poker right now compared to years ago?
Well, it seemed to me like we had there was two downfalls, or what should I say? I mean, it definitely seemed like the money got smaller after 2008 because everybody was suffering because the banks basically took everybody's money and then got bailed out. And then obviously Black Friday that definitely changed the scene a little bit, or maybe a lot. People had less money to go around, and I think it probably, even though I was playing mostly high stakes, I'm sure you could feel it like rings in the water, whether you were playing 5, 10, 10, 20, 50, 100, or 3,000, 6,000, or whatever you were playing. And but still, it seemed to me, and I've always kind of thought so, that poker is here to stay. I mean, for the first time, universally, there's a game that everybody plays. It's a known fact. I mean, people like to gamble. There's been casinos. There's been gambling since the dawn of time, and now we have a game that everybody can maybe even watch on TV. You can play with your friends. You can dream of being a world champion and win $8 million, et cetera, et cetera. So it's played all over the world. So it's too big to stop poker.
Mm-hmm.
Poker is here to stay. Even though the U.S. government is doing an amazing job not to let people play poker. People still play poker in the U.S., and I don't know where we are with the legislation about it's legal in some states online. There's some sites that I don't know. It's a big mess. I mean, it seems obvious to anybody with any inch of a brain that obviously online poker should be legal all over the states and the rest of the world. But there are many countries where it's slightly fucked up. So, but nonetheless, so I don't even know. There might even be more poker players in 2018 than there's ever been before in any other given time. I don't know for sure if the amount of poker players took a dip after 2008 because of the financial shit, or 2010 because of Black Friday. I don't know, but it's my impression that there probably is more poker players today than there's ever been before.
Yeah.
But maybe you know.
Yeah, I feel like for Americans, probably a little bit less, just because with online poker, it's most people don't know. There's some sites you can play on. They're unregulated. There's cheating happening there. It's just they're very shady places to play. So I think Americans in that younger demographic, it's definitely gone down. I'd be kind of curious what people think about that too, because I'm not sure if it would be more now. It seems like it was just much more popular back then because it was on television so much. And you had these personalities that you became fans of. You felt like you wanted to see them do well, and that made you more interested in poker and more interested in playing and kind of being like them. And I feel like that aspirational side of things has definitely gone away in recent years because there just isn't that same content being put out there and those same personalities being put out there. So, And obviously you mentioned legislation in different places. Here in America, they just approved interstate poker, which is going to be taking place, I think, later this year. Pennsylvania is going to come on. It'll be Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and Nevada all as one big player pool. But yeah, we're still very far behind. I don't see any other states currently on the horizon in this year to get approved. And then if they get approved, it's not going to be at least till 19 or 2020 until it's actually implemented and things are in place. So we're years away from anything happening like that in America. So yeah, I'd like to think that. I hope there are more people playing poker now. But obviously with the esports games and the Fortnite, that they're breaking millions of people are watching these games, and they're very fun games to watch. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of competition out there for sure.
Definitely, and like you said, obviously, back in the days when there was only about 10, 12 poker shows a year, and they were featuring a lot of the same players. Obviously, the pool was smaller, but you saw a Daniel Negreanu, you saw a Phil Hellmuth, you saw a Phil Ivey. I was in there as well. You saw some of the same names, and I think it's good for any sport, let's call poker a sport, to have some name recognition. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, tennis would be a different place without the Williams sisters or Nadal and Federer, because people like a rivalry. They like to root for Federer or Nadal or whoever it is. And you have different sports where you have that great rivalry. It could be in basket. It could be in anything. And obviously you had some names, but suddenly the market got flooded, and you had like televised 28 million different events and all different names, because it is hard to get to a final table in a 700 field poker tournament. So nobody knew anybody anymore. And I think people lost a little bit of interest because they could tune in and see Federer. They're going to tune in. They can tune in and see Tiger Woods. They're going to tune in. They can tune in to see Phil Hellmuth battle it with Daniel Negreanu. They're going to tune in. But if they're going to see Brian versus Peter and don't know who the fuck either of them are, maybe they're just going to play a home game instead.
Right. Yeah.
Which is fine. So definitely that aspect of it has gone a little bit away. I also think, because I did some commentary in Rosvedov, the party poker main event that that Isildur won, and I did say that it is a little sad that you have 9 players at the final table, and it's like they think they're going to get knocked out if they just say one word. It's like the silent, all 9 people that, I mean, nobody, and I can understand you're at the final table. It might be a really big thing if you can make a good result here. It can be life-changing whatsoever, but you can play your best poker and still say a word. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? It's like you can have a little banter. You can be excited. You don't have to wear a hoodie, and you don't have to be a stone-faced for the entire 5 hours you're sitting at the final table. You might even be able to get a tell from somebody if you talk. But it is a little dull, I think. It is more fun to see actually a Poker After Dark, a cash game with Aussie Mad, me, Brian Rast, whoever, and there's actually some banter going on instead of a dead serious stone-fist 9 people that you've never seen before.
I think as poker just becomes harder and there's more software out there that people use to get better at the game, I think a lot of those things factor the more introverted person, the quieter person, the non-social person, because they can have more time to put into these things. And so I kind of understand. And also, if you're a gregarious person, if you're a social person and you play, you're probably going to want to get out of poker at some point in time. Like, you see how things are, you're like, why the fuck am I going to stay here? And when I could be going doing other things with people who are actually going to speak to me and talk to me and kind of make different friends. So
yeah,
Yeah, that part's kind of unfortunate because we did have a lot of characters in poker back in the day who loved talking. And yourself, like you mentioned, you and Daniel Fellmuth. I mean, you might not like Phil, but at least he's talking some shit and calling people idiots from Northern Europe and stuff like that, and telling them that their plays are awful and can't believe they call them with the Queen 10 suited or Queen 10 offsuit, whatever that hand was against Adam Ruthless Levy. But yeah, I definitely can understand the quiet side of things though too. And you mentioned the final table at the Rosbudov Casino for the Party Poker Millions event, and yeah, definitely quiet guys there. You know, so they're not a very talkative person overall. The guy he played heads up wasn't a talkative person overall as well. So I don't really know what can be done except maybe, I guess, encouraging people to do that. But at the same time, I get why they wouldn't want to. Like, they're a little weird and they don't want to talk. So it's like,
it's a tough one, but it just does make for more interesting TV if you actually have some characters.
100%.
If you have some communication, some good banter, maybe a joke even. So I mean, I definitely like to see that. That's why it would also be more interesting for me to see, like Daniel Negreanu or some of the more well-known faces who actually knows how to behave, or not that they don't behave, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Are you planning to play any more televised kind of stuff, like any more of the stream poker games or anything like that?
It's not like I travel to do it. I happened to be in Vegas, and they asked me if I wanted to join in one of the Poker After Dark, and I said, why not? It's been a long time, but it's not something where I'm gonna travel halfway around the world just to be on some featured TV set. I've tried that before, but I mean, if it comes up, I'm always open to suggestions. So I mean, I'm even doing a podcast with some Joey guy. I don't know who the fuck it is.
Bang bang. That's true. You really are open to anything. That's right. That's true. I blame the fans for helping to get you on here. The fans on Instagram.
It's cool. It's cool.
They took over. Have you done any podcasts before in poker? Any poker related stuff like that?
I did a podcast with a girlfriend of mine on relationships, but
what? Wait, what? Whoa, wait, what? Wait a second. Where can we find this one? This sounds epic.
It's in Danish.
Oh my!
It's in Danish.
That's what I love. What do I love? I love the Great Game of Potlin Omaha. I love women. I love dating. I love basketball, and I love grinding long sessions. So that sounds like right up my alley.
What I said, it was in Danish.
Oh fuck, man. Oh well.
yeah, that's a little
in
tough.
Danish.
Not too many know that language, but
why would it be? Listen, if anyone out there is Danish, if you will translate the podcast that Gus did for dating and put it into English, I will pay you money, and the community will thank you, because I think people out there would like to hear that one. I'm learning Mandarin right now, but I'm not learning Danish, and I don't think I'll ever learn.
No, don't go for the Danish. But maybe someone will take you up on the offer.
Oh, they will. We got a lot of crazy people out there for sure. I know normally I give shout outs here right now, so I'm going to shout everybody out that's watching this live or watching this back at home. I can see your questions in my mind, scrolling through my mind like I normally do, but it's just not here. I'll give a couple shout. My shout out to my guy Vernon Debex out there. I know my Vernon would tell me to ask you a certain question, but I might save that for later because it's a little bit out of line of a question. But a very relevant question for you. You play a lot of these long online sessions, so that certainly could be a thing. You want to give a shout to anybody out there who might be watching this out there that might come to mind?
Me?
Yeah. You have a shout out to give? You ever give some shout outs? Like what's up? Ooh. What up, Jim? What's happening, Poppy? What's going on? Like something like that.
See, that I've never done before, and you caught me off guard. So no shout outs right now.
No shout outs?
No.
Okay. No shout out. Yeah, I usually give a lot of shout outs whenever I do this, because there's always people that show up all the time and they comment and stuff like that. So I feel like in poker there's a pretty, like, you know, hear people talk, like some people are they're angry or they're trolly or whatever, but I feel like overall, like, my audience is pretty supportive, and from what I've seen with people interacting with you, been very supportive as well too, and kind of for you coming back and doing a lot more poker stuff now, how does that make you feel when you see fans on Instagram commenting and saying like we love you or we miss you or those sorts of things like that?
Well, I mean, it's always nice. I mean, I think that's my kind of attitude towards things. I mean, like we talked about earlier, there's going to be some. There's always going to be a hater or two around, but most people are nice, and if you smile, I smile. So it's always cool. I mean, I always try and take my time if somebody comes up and want to shake hand or take a photo or something like that. So it makes me feel good when I can make people smile. I see them smile. So it's always nice when things are well received.
Do a lot of fans still come up to you and talk to you and tell you what's up or want to take a photo?
It seems like it's obviously not the same as it was back in the days, but there's still a fair amount that comes up from here, there, and everywhere. And I have to say, if someone stood out, it's hasn't happened that often, but there's been a couple of Japanese fans, and they always make me smile. They're so nice and so polite and so happy and the biggest smile. So they're cool. The Japanese fans are cool.
Shout out to the Japanese fans out. Yeah, I met and they're like, hello, Gus, nice to meet you, Gus. So like that's they're very. I met a few Japanese people too, and they've always been pretty fun for my interactions like that. Have you ever met any women out there, man? Obviously, I heard this reputation over time as Gus Hansen, the ladies' man. So we've heard this over time, and I'd imagine that because I mean myself, I think there's not many women left in poker, but I sometimes you meet a lady, you meet a person that might message you or something like that. But for you over the years, man, you're out there super visible. And what was that like? Did you have groupies back then? Was there poker groupies?
I'm still a virgin. I'm still waiting for the one and only. So yeah, no groupies. I'm just myself right now, waiting for. No, there's been. I have met a girl or two along the way, and obviously, poker is a male-dominated sport. But sometimes some of my male fans has girlfriends that come along. Not their actual girlfriends, but they have friends that are girls. If you understand what I'm saying. So,
I could see both things.
Yeah.
I thought they were like, "Yes, we're a fan. Here's my girl." I'm like, I've heard that happening. I don't know. It's not.
No. I'm a quiet guy, but no, it's no secret that I like girls, and I have met some girls in the poker community throughout the years, and yeah.
What do you think about dating a girl, dating a woman that plays poker? Because from my experience with that, I don't know, man. Because like I think one person who's crazy and like going through emotional swings constantly and up and down, and you're worried about poker's a selfish game to begin with. I think when I try to introduce another female that plays poker into that mix, I feel like the mix isn't always. It's more chaos than happiness. I feel, or more chaos than non-chaotic, I suppose that would be the
word. I'm not sure I'm the right one to say that poker players shouldn't date poker players or not. I think I'm probably more in the go with the flow. If like I said before with regards to fans, if you smile, I smile, and I think pretty much the same in relationship. If it works out well, then you don't have to plan for the next 10 years, but take a day at a time. And if everybody is happy, then keep on going. And if it's Breaking Bad, then c'est la vie.
I try saying that to women. I know people might be watching this Instagram live right now, some women out there, but I say that to women too. I'm like, let's just take things, let's go with things. But they're like, no, I'm not trying to waste my time, Joy. I'm not trying to waste my time. Like we need to make, like, what is this? I'm like, man, fucking, like, can't we calm down a little bit? So
I guess, I think that's probably a little bit of a stereotype on the male female, but I've definitely seen it happen. But Then again, I don't understand the phrase "waste my time." It really does not make sense to me in
Mm-hmm.
that context. So I don't even know what to say with it. So I'm glad the two of us is not in a relationship, and I have to respond to it seriously. But no, I don't know. I don't know. As long as you don't step on anybody's toes and just be nice to people, then you're all right.
Yeah, you mentioned backgammon earlier, and so we've heard about backgammon for so long. Heard about tennis, I think, for so long too, and about these alleged high stakes back. Everyone's like, "How does Gus make his money?" They're like, "He made $1 billion playing backgammon in a backroom place in Monaco or something like that." So these backgammon, this has been a legendary thing that people talk about over time. So talk a little bit about your experience with backgammon and kind of how you came to be the backgammon guru.
Well, it's just basically the game that I started out with. I mean, finished my high school and actually played a lot of backgammon in high school. And then one step took another. I met some American backgammon players that in turn introduced me to Huck Seed and Chip Reese and Doyle Brunson, etc. And one step took another. But this was kind of my main game, so I never left it. And sometimes it just happened that you ran into some high stakes Russian players, some high stakes Persian players, etc., etc. And it's basically the same. It's obviously has a lot of similarities with poker. There's a lot of skill, but there's also a lot of luck. I mean, in poker you have the cards, in backgammon you have the dice, and if you're the better player, you will win in the long run. And the thing is in backgammon that you can't go all in backgammon like you can in poker. I mean, basically you sit down with a horrible poker player and play a heads-up match, and he basically moves all in every hand. You're favored to win. I'm not saying that, but you could definitely lose.
Mm-hmm.
And in backgammon, I would consider it a little bit more of a grind, which means that you might not win as much, but you win constantly, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So in that sense, I sometimes bumped into a good spot, and good spots where it was probably very hard for me to lose.
Yeah, I just have to wonder, like, I feel like backgammon would be a more wealthier man's kind of game. I don't think like backgammon's being played by people unless they maybe they're looking for a different sport to play or golf or they like chess or things like that. So just always like how do the games like would you be at a place and then or would people set you up with someone else? Oh, this person's looking to play backgammon, I'll play, or just
It's basically the same scene as and maybe not the World Series of Poker, but like if you step 10 years back and you have a regular poker tournament lasting for a week, maybe there's 2-3 side events as well, smaller buy-in events, and that's the same. You have a backgammon tournament, then you have consolation prize, so you have the winners bracket, the losers bracket. You have a couple of tournaments, and people sit down and play money games as well. So it's a place where people gather, people that are interested in backgammon, and sometimes cash game appears. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's the same scene, just on a smaller scale, but obviously you can play backgammon for big money as well as you can play poker for big money.
Yeah, I always had this image in my head, backgammon. They're like Gus and backgammon. I'm like, what is that? Like, is he walking through a Monaco casino? He sees a guy. The guy's got 2 women on his arm, and he points to you. He's like, I want backgammon, high stakes. And you're like, oh, sure, let's play, fine. And then you go up to the room. He's got the women making food, delivering drinks, and you're playing. That was the image I had in my mind when I kept hearing this backgammon. And now I hear there's like tournaments like backgammon. I'm like, I'm trying to recalibrate that image in my head here.
Yeah, it's just basically. I mean, I'm sure there's been poker games where people just play a heads-up match in the room, and I've done that in backgammon as well. And even though it's nice to imagine that there's lots of pretty women around and drinks and food and all this, a lot of times it's just a couple of degenerates playing poker or backgammon, and one wins a lot of money and one loses, or that's the way it goes.
What's life like over there? So you're in Denmark now?
I'm in Monaco right now.
Monaco right now. So what's your life like in Monaco then?
Monaco is kind of, apart from at tournament time, obviously we have the EPT grand final every year in Monaco, but apart from that, it's pretty quiet. It's really nice here. Weather is pretty much always nice, and I've just practice, play some squash, play on the Monaco team, etc. So just relax, just do kind of, you could say, normal stuff. So apart from at tournament time, very little gambling in Monaco.
You play on the Monaco squash team. Is that like an official team, or what is that for?
It's we did play the European Championship one year.
Cool, that's awesome.
We did not play in the A group. That's only the top 8 teams that play in the A group. But we played and we didn't come in last. So that was our goal, was not to come in last.
Is squash an Olympic event?
It is not, and that's seriously fucked up.
I was recently. Do you think you could win a gold medal in anything if we made a bet and you had for the rest of your life to win a gold medal in an Olympic game or a summer game?
In a summer game, I probably had 0.000%, but we actually discussed that in Bobby's room here, and whether me and who else was the other could make the Olympic team in curling.
This must have been Jungle Man brought this up, because we had this. I put this on Twitter during the curling event, and then a bunch of people were commenting about it. So we had a big discussion about it. But I think that it's possible to qualify for an Olympic team in a different country. But you need a team for curling, though. It's like, I think it's 3 people and then an alternate. So you actually would need other good players. But I think it's possible to win a gold medal in curling. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The thing is, I mean, I've played a lot of sport on not on a professional level, but a good amateur level, college level, etc. And there's just so many fine points in everything. I mean, darts, which is very popular in the UK and actually very popular on TV. I mean, these guys are pretty damn good, and I'm pretty sure they've played darts their entire life, and a lot of hours is just going into that day in and day out. So I think I'm almost 100% certain that we're underestimating the curling players.
I know.
But I have to admit that it doesn't look too hard, but I think these guys are probably unbelievably good if we knew the intricacies of curling. But
there's a curling place here in Vegas that I want to go to, because I want to try that. I can't. I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, these guys look like my fucking Uncle Jerry. Like, he looks like Uncle Jerry up there on the screen with the hair. I don't know, man. But I mean, we're not going to worry about it for another 3 years anyway if the Olympics come back. So it's like we only really worry about the Olympics every 4 years.
I'm not ever gonna worry about it. Not the curling event.
No, I probably won't also.
Yeah. We probably should let it slide.
Yeah. Do you have what's like one of your craziest? People love the degen stories. What's one of your biggest poker degen moments, sort of thing? Whether it's playing or swings or something like that. Does anything stand out for you that comes to mind?
I mean, I have some really bad stories. I mean, I think my biggest online win in 24 hours was 1.9 million. And crazy as it may sound, it's actually bigger than my biggest loss, which would normally, considering my losing graph, would be the other way around, because in a 24-hour period I've actually only lost like 1.5. So the win beats out the loss, but unfortunately it sounds like if that's the case, there must have been more losses than wins. That's when I do the math in my head, it seems that has to be the case, but no, I don't know if I've any crazy, not that I can think of right now. There might be something lurking in the back of my mind, but not as we speak.
Did you have like a nemesis online that you played against a lot that you just battled with a ton and went back and forth with?
I had a lot, but it wasn't as much back and forth as me taking it in the back or whatever you want to call it. So no, I mean, I think definitely if I had to say my worst results online against a specific player, that would definitely be Isildur. It just does not seem that I've ever won a hand against Isildur. It seems like I actually, it would be interesting for me to see my graph against Isildur, because I think it's like unreal. I mean, it's just straight losing from, I mean, straight down. Yeah, he's definitely been my nemesis online. But I mean, basically, my big nemesis online has been myself. So I mean, I outconquer Isildur in with that regard. But I mean, he's the one I've lost the most to, like percentage-wise, number of hands played, money lost, etc. I'm fairly certain about that.
So if you go back, you mentioned your biggest enemy is yourself. What would you do differently then? Would you not just play as much, or play lower stakes, or find more discipline? What do you think you'd work at?
I mean, number one, discipline. Number two, I mean, I have the world record for sure in worst table selection of all time. I mean, I have tried to play against the best of the best in any game, and usually playing like two tables where I play the best in that game and the best in another game at the same time. So I really can get confused. I mean, I've done so many stupid things that it's not even, I can't even fathom it, but that's the case, and nothing I can undo. But a lot of things to be done differently if I had the opportunity. But it would probably be an even bigger mistake to focus too much about it. I mean, I've done it, and now I've just fortunately realized that I can use that as a tool for practicing a bit of poker leading up to maybe some live events if I haven't been playing too much. But apart from that, it's just, as I mentioned, it's not my scene.
What do you think about the current online poker scene overall right now? Do you keep up with it at all?
I have no idea. I mean, basically, I have not been on an online site for like 10 months or so. So I have absolutely no idea. It's my impression that high stakes DB was a lot more interesting with me, David Benjamin, Isildur, Brian Hastings, whoever was around. Mm-hmm. But I don't really know, because I have not actually typed high stakes DB for
long time,
5 years. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like basically how online is now is that Star still has some action, but it's a lot more segregated around the internet. And there's the Asian sites that have a lot of high stakes action, which there's a little bit potential some collusion happening on there with against some of the Chinese people, or even you can play more than one account on that site. So some of the high stakes actions there. Party poker's been starting to kick it up a little bit. Party poker has this thing they do sometimes on Wednesday where they'll stream a high stakes game. It's usually like Sam and Rob will play, and Leon will hop in there sometimes too, and sometimes Isildur, and even Aussie Matt played a few times too. So that might be something if you do want to play online high stakes, that would be a much, much softer game that you could get into. And I'm sure they would love to have you in that because it's people who want to go there and play. Like they're not going there to knit it up and to just, they're going there to gamble it up and actually, try to have a good time, put on a good show. So I've been enjoying those. But yeah, it's just not really the same as it was then, as you mentioned. It's just no more. The rail aspect is still there to some extent, but it's nothing like it was anytime in years past.
No,
so
that's not my impression, but as I said, I haven't followed it, so wouldn't know. I'm gonna stick in 2018 to mostly the live scene. I mean, a couple of stops here: Monaco, Barcelona, Rosvadov, Vienna, because I know some of the people from Vienna that we play some Chinese poker here and there. Vegas, of course. So that's going to be my pit stops around the world as of right now. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe some high stakes backgammon game will develop.
Ooh.
Yeah, we never know.
Do you need to even study your backgammon game anymore to stay really good, or do you feel like that's just ingrained in you and now it's?
I have felt for 20 years that it's been ingrained in me, but the last time I played, I realized that I was really, really rusty. So yeah, you definitely have to keep up a little bit. But I have a good, let's say, good sound basis level that I can always compete at a pretty high level.
The high stakes backgammon world, man. I might need to dive. I might need to investigate this backgammon world, man. I don't know, because people are always saying like, man, where's Gus get all this money to play online at? It's backgammon, or live games. That's the biggest mystery in poker, Gus. You know that, right? That's what they want to know from online with you and Gus Hansen. They say, where Gus Hansen got all the money from? They think backgammon. We're gonna tell them backgammon.
I do have a tournament win or two though.
In poker, I agree. Yeah, I think you did really well at live tournaments, right?
Overall, I think I've done pretty good.
I think your best showing was on that one show, Poker Superstars, where you just shoved all in every hand. That was definitely one of my. You remember that tournament series you played where you I think it's a video on YouTube, Gus Hansen going crazy. It's 4 parts. You shoved all in almost every hand, and then the strategy worked. I think he got first place in the third in the heat or something like that. But it was like a point system. But that was, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, it was an arbitrary point system, and obviously that made the decision for me, because not alone did I need to win, but I also knew that people couldn't afford to get knocked out. Right. So it was basically what are you calling them? Satellite with seats for the first 3 players. So nobody wants to get knocked out 4, 5, 6, and I could take advantage of that. And except for Phil Hellmuth, because he also always want to be stubborn.
Yeah, that clip was amazing. I don't know. I feel like it's got millions of views on YouTube too. Obviously, another big hand. I think there's a lot of hands, but another big hand that people have. I actually don't think I've ever heard your side of this, because I remember I talked with Daniel on maybe the first podcast we did together about this hand. But the quads hand, when you had pocket 6s or pocket 5s, and he had pocket 6s, and the flop came down. I think it was 8. You raised early position. He called. The flop was 8-6-5. You had pocket 5s. Daniel has pocket 6s. I think the flop went check call or bet call. What did the flop go? Bet raise call or something like that?
It was he bet. I check raised. He bet and I raised, and basically I think. I've discussed the hand with Daniel. I think he played it bad, and I think I played it bad. I think it was a situation where I should have given him no chance to fold ever, and I did give him the chance. And when he was given the chance, he failed to take it.
Right.
I mean, basically, he was given enough information at the end to say that, okay, it went raise, re-raise, pre-flop, bet, check raise on the flop, bet on the turn, bet, check raise, all in on the river, whatever. I mean, I'm blabbing a little bit, but there were so many bets that if I ask you isolated, I don't tell you anybody's hands, but if I ask you isolated and you see this line of betting, raise, re-raise pre-flop, check, bet, check, raise on the flop, big bet on the turn, check, big bet on the river, all in. What do you think the first guy has? Do you think he has the nuts or any other hand? And you're going to say 97%, well, he has the nuts. Daniel didn't even have the second nuts. He didn't even have the third nuts. He had the fourth nuts. I mean, basically, I gave him a chance to get away from it. He didn't take it. I played it bad to give him a chance, and he played bad not to take that chance that was offered to him. That's the way I look at the hand in hindsight. So I think I should have played better, and I'm glad that he didn't.
So on the river, the board, it was 9-6
5
flop,
6-5 on the flop,
turn,
and then the 5 on the turn,
and then the 8 on the river.
Yeah.
So why don't you not bet the river after you bet the turn? Why do you decide to check raise the river?
Well, when I check raised him on the flop, I knew he had a big hand. When he called there, it was no drawing hand, no nothing. I knew he had a big hand. And obviously I can say that in hindsight, but who knows what would have happened. But I was not in love with my hand at all when I had 3 5s. And the way he called my check raise, I was not in love with my hand. I could have the best hand, but I was not. Obviously, when the 5 came, I was in love with my hand. And then on the river, I didn't know how strong his love for his hand was. And I thought that if he had 2 aces, which is obviously still a good hand when you get check raised, even though it's a 9-6-5 flop, I mean, it's still a decent hand. I thought if I bet that he might fold a hand like 2 aces, and if I checked, I thought he would value bet a hand like 2 aces. That's actually what I thought at the time. And so I wasn't certain about anything except for the fact that I was pretty sure he was going to value bet. And he was going to value bet thinner than he was going to call. So I said, hey, I think checking is my best option. But in hindsight, I should have bet bigger on the turn and just all in on the river, and he would have no chance of ever folding. But the way I played it with a smallish bet on the turn and then the big check raise on the river, I think he should have gotten away, and I think I should have played it differently. So, I mean, it was a funky hand, and I don't think especially well played from either side. But nonetheless, it's a hand that people remember.
Oh yeah, it's a legendary high stakes poker. I mean, some of those high stakes poker hands were I mean, they were obviously pretty epic. I don't think you played in the last few seasons, right? You played in the early seasons, but not the last seasons.
Yeah. Yes, I played in the beginning, and then I don't think I played in the Jamie Gold era.
Too bad.
Nope.
It's too bad. Sorry. I'm sorry. That would have been a fun game. Slightly better game than I think some of the other games that were on there. I mean, Jamie Gold was he was a madman, bro. He played. I mean, some of his hands are. He said, Gus. He said, "I don't want to be the best player. I want to be the best bluffer."
Yeah.
And then proceed to be bad at bluffing. Like, I mean, he kept trying.
I think I'm one of the few ones that actually think that maybe Jamie Gold was the best player when he won the World Championship.
You think just at that final table there?
No, just I have not seen a lot of hands from that World Championship, but all the hands I've seen, he got the best of his opponents. I'm not saying that Jamie Gold is a great poker player, but I think with his confidence level and the fact that everybody was scared of getting knocked out, I think he got the best of most players, which is why it probably was somewhat deserved that he won. I'm sure that he deserved to lose in a lot of those high stakes games that he played
Yeah.
and so on, and put a beating upon himself in some of those situations. But I actually think he did well in the World Championship, and it was probably maybe the rightful winner.
Yeah, I think it was like him, Paul Wasika heads up, and then Alan Cunningham. I think they were three-handed, and he definitely put on a show. That was incredibly entertaining with the table talk and the banter, and it seemed like he was making all the right plays in a lot of those spots too. And it's a classic year for the World Series Poker main event. I mean, those were pretty epic years.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. So I miss Jamie Gold. Even I think Jamie Gold plays some still in LA. I think he plays Omaha actually too, but yeah, I miss the big Jamie Gold being around kind of low. Do you have any Barry Greenstein stories? We had Barry Greenstein on the podcast the other day, and I don't know, the man has so much wisdom inside his mind. I was like, oh my, I didn't know Barry Greenstein had this much like poker and sort of life like in him. It was very like I don't know, it's interesting. I didn't expect it at all. So, but I know you and Barry had played a bunch together, and
we have played a lot together. Definitely at times. In the beginning, he definitely got the best of me. I think at times I got the best of him in the cash games. I have one thing. My deepest run in the main event was one year I got knocked out as like I was a chip leader after day 1, 2, and 3, and then day 4 I started to slide, and we're probably like 2008 or something like that. A lot of like super aggro players were coming around, and one player in particular got the best of me on day 4, day 5, and I'm very certain, the reason I bring that up now is I'm very sure that Barry Greenstein coached him how to play against me. And in hindsight, I wish I would have had that knowledge a little sooner. I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I can just look back and see that's the only reason that this guy, who has absolutely no knowledge about me apart from what he might have seen on some random World Poker Tour show, that he pinpointed a lot of the right aggression at the right time, etc. And I'm quite sure that was because of Mr. Barry Greenstein. So yeah, once again he got the best of me there.
What year was that in?
My guess is like I'm saying 2007, 2008, something like that. I came in 60 something. I don't know. But a young Asian kid who in my mind definitely was coached by Barry.
I'll have to ask Barry about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this on the Instagram for the fans to see, guys, and let people know the pod's coming here. Listen, guys, we're doing the Gus Hansen podcast right now. We're recording it. It'll be up next week. If you don't follow this man on Instagram, follow him right now. He said he's going to give away a free Bobby's Room play with him. No, are you not giving that? No, he's not actually giving that. No, but just go follow him. He's not going to give that away, though. I always like these fake giveaways. I like to do, or actually, sometimes we do fake giveaways. Sometimes we do real giveaways. But yeah, I love doing the giveaways on social media and stuff like that. That's like a fun thing to give back. I mean, I'm sure the fans would love maybe to get a dinner with Gus Hansen.
Yeah, but that's for the female audience. Yeah, that's
true.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You definitely have the female audience on there, man. I'm telling you. I went to your comments. I saw more women and comment on my photos ever. I was like, man, they love Gus Hansen. I feel like so. It's I don't know, man. I think it's pretty. Poker right now is in kind of a lull with everything online and with kind of the high stakes in the online world essentially being much different now, and kind of the personalities in poker are going to the side. A lot of the more visible guys that had a personality who I've been friends with for years are kind of getting out of poker. So it's nice to kind of see someone like yourself and even somebody like Daniel and somebody like Antonio kind of doing more televised poker stuff, because I think that's really just good for poker in general, and kind of helps, I guess encourages people to keep paying attention to it. So it's just, I think it's just really cool to see. So I'm all for it. So I want to have you on. I was like, well, I mean, if Gus is gonna do stuff on here, obviously people want to hear from Gus Hansen for a long time. Just want to get to know more about you as just a person that you are and kind of where you're at with poker and yeah, they're very interested in it, man. They think that they have a lot of fans built up over the years that just love your style and love the pizzazz, and maybe they love those weird things you do with the chips at the table when you're thinking about calling. I don't exactly know how you do that, but it's some sort of I don't know what is that thing you do where
I
you like
don't
do some
even
weird ass like I've never seen anyone else do it. Like I'm like it's like not a chip trick or it's like a trick, but it's not a shuffle. It's like you throw. I don't know. I'm going to put a video in here when I edit this together and show people what I mean. But yeah, man, it's definitely cool to see you back out there.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So people can follow you on Instagram at Real Gus Hansen.
That is correct.
Okay. Do you use Twitter at all or anything like that?
I do have a Twitter. I mostly used it to troll Donald Trump.
Okay.
But a kind of a favorite obsession of mine because the man is utterly insane. But nonetheless, I do sometimes throw in actually some what's happening in the poker world, or I'm in Bobby's room, etc., etc. But it is. There is going to be some anti-Trump rants as well.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, they're in a lot of people definitely feel the same way about that. So I guess coming up here, the next place people might be able to see you play, you're going to, I think, is it Barcelona next? Party Poker Barcelona? Is that the next one, or is it Monaco before that?
No, it's Barcelona first. So
Barcelona first.
I'll definitely stop by there and see what's going on in Barcelona.
Cool. Well, Gus, we'll have to catch up during this summertime too when you're out here, and when you're if you decide to maybe make any sort of stuff or do more videos on there, we'll have to catch up, kind of see how summer's going for you, and do a little in person, maybe a little whiskey. I don't know what you like to drink. I like whiskey. I'm a big whiskey guy right now.
I'm a vodka guy.
Vodka guy. We'll have to get it. Yeah. Maybe get a vodka, get a whiskey, do a little in person drinking podcast during the summertime to give us a little break from the poker.
That's interesting. I think I could be up for that.
Cool. That'll be fun, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on, man. Much love.
All right. Cheers, man.
All right. Guys, everybody in the chat that's not there, then no chat. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out. Adios.